Another red flag for me personally is if the person doesn't take the interview seriously. I once had a person show up for an interview. She was driving her car in a tank top. Whatever your company's core values are, you want to make sure that there's an alignment. And if you're seeing something in the very, very beginning, listen to your gut. It's a red flag.
One of the 12 things that really high performing teams have is that they have a best friend inside the company.
Through the course of the interviews, what we do is instead of saying, are you going to align with excellence? We'll say like, tell me a time at your last position in which you demonstrated excellence.
One of the things that I say to my teams, there is permission to fail. There isn't permission to do nothing.
Clearly defined goals, baked training that is created, and then it's a community where everyone is helping to bring this person up. It doesn't fall on any one person.
Welcome to the 80/20 Recruit podcast, the show that's all about mastering remote talent acquisition and retention. Whether you're hiring your first remote worker or scaling your team, we've got you covered. I'm Frank, your host. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, to a new episode of our podcast. In this episode, we have Candy Osborne. She is the COO of IPS Cash, a real estate investment firm specializing in cash home purchases. With a background in the Marine Corps, she drives team success through leadership and strategic execution. Her impact is evident in the company's growth and strong team culture. Candy, welcome to our podcast. I hope to learn a lot from you. Tell us a little bit about your business and your role in talent acquisition these days.
Sure. Thanks, Francisco, for having me. I'm happy to be here. Okay, so the business, we are IPS Cash, and we are based out of Nashua, New Hampshire. And for folks who aren't up on their geography, we're about 45 minutes north of Boston, Mass. That's the closest big city to us. And my husband and CEO owner is Joe Theriault, and he's the one that started the company about 2016. So just about 9 years or so. And he started the company primarily to help folks who had inherited a property. In fact, the IPS in IPS Cash stands for Inherited Property Solutions. He started it as a way to help those folks. And then over the years, we realized that there were more types of people that we could help. And so we've grown the company to about a 20-person team, both stateside and abroad. And we buy and sell primarily in Massachusetts and New Hampshire.
Cool. I want to dig deeper into the hiring of 20 people, which is quite a few for a real estate company these days. There's a lot to be said regarding AI, technology, and stuff like that. I want to know, what's your opinion on the role that technology plays in recruiting these days?
Ooh, technology. I'm a bit of a tech geek myself. We are right now actually in the process of trying to implement different types of AI throughout the organization. I'm super excited. My background as a marketer, I'm already sort of attuned to all the different technology. It's always changing. I can tell you just superficially, different people on the team have been playing with something as simple as just ChatGPT. And it's helping us to better craft our emails, our communication with one another. It's giving us ideas. We can upload information and get to answers more quickly. So I think it's super exciting to see where we're going to go. And even just starting with ChatGPT with our day-to-day tasks is already helping us to get ahead.
Yeah, we too. We use a lot of AI these days. I can tell you so many choices. I'll tell you a couple. For example, just to summarize all the interviews, conversations, that was a manual work altogether. And now with all the AIs that they're out there, there's tons of hours less in that sense. And also summarizing resumes, put them in our own specialized format. So yeah, we're getting a lot of work, a lot of help with the AI. I want to go into another question. I want to know a little bit about dark side. Tell me a little bit of the mistakes that you've made regarding hiring, and what have you learned from those mistakes?
Oh, that's a really good one. You don't have a company like this and not make mistakes. Like, we've made so many mistakes. Like, how much time do we have, Francisco? I guess I'll say, as it relates to hiring And some of the more prominent mistakes that we've made is if there is a person who's coming in as a referral, we in the past maybe didn't vet the person like we would normally. Like we just sort of like said, oh, well, this person already has a shoe in, and that has hurt us a few times. We've come to realize that the process is tried and true. Don't deviate from the process. So just relying on that has hurt us. I will say that prior to creating this process, the way that we used to ask questions, in that if we asked a question that was hypothetical, what would you do if? We learned that that's the complete opposite that you want to ask. Instead, you want to be asking questions that demonstrate experience. So that's another issue, because we had people that were just really good in the interview and were either completely BSing their way or who knows, just really good. And then they would get on the job and we're like, what happened? So changing our questions, our literal questions, has helped us. And I would say the final thing, just rushing. In the past, we rushed. And if we've learned anything, it's that it's hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah, I get that a lot of the time. And so that you're not as hard on yourself on the we made a few mistakes because of
Mm,
referrals, I want to say something. There's a resource that I want to leave out here. There's a marvelous book called Delivering Happiness. The author is Tony Hsieh, the
yep,
founder of a company, Zappos company. You know that company? Is a company
yep,
that was sold to Amazon for like, I don't know, something like $1.3 billion. And they're famous for all the awesome culture. And the biggest thing about their culture is that they say that one of the best practices of building an amazing culture, I remember a couple that I can
mm-hmm,
say here. The first one is try a lot to hire on referrals. So if Tony Hsieh is saying, and they're famous for
mm-hmm,
building a great culture, I think you were on the right track.
mm-hmm.
Maybe the pre-vetting could have been better, but yeah,
Agreed. Yeah.
the best practice on try to go on referrals, I think, is a good one. So don't be
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm.
harsh on yourself on that one. The second
Yeah.
one is that this is from another book that I also recommend a lot. It's called First Break All the Rules. It's also about managing and hiring. And they say that one of the 12 things that really high performing teams have is that they have a best friend inside the company. So they're
Mm-hmm,
friends with the people in the company. So you can get the 2 for 1 if you hire someone from a
mm-hmm.
referral. So that's a good resource there. So I
Yeah.
think you were on the right track. You are on the right track.
Yeah, I think, but again, like you have, we really try to just like what we would say fail forward, and we needed to do that to understand where we were falling short, and go from there. So yeah, it's all good. We're learning.
Let's keep learning. And in that direction, I want to know, what do you think are red flags when hiring, when interviewing? What can you tell other managers out there? Look for this and that in terms of red flags.
I can give you a very recent example. A red flag would be if the candidate cannot follow instructions. I mean, that is just so basic. Yesterday, there was an interview scheduled, and there was explicit instructions for where and when to meet. And somehow, instead of joining at the time and place that we suggested or instructed, person literally called our company line. And so the person answered the phone and took the message and came to speak to me and said, "Hey, I just got off the phone with so and so, and they're supposed to be in a manager meeting." And my question back was, we specifically gave this person instructions on when and where to meet. This could be your peer. Do you want to work with somebody who can't follow instruction? And he's like, "No, I don't. I wouldn't want." So I mean, that's just one example, but it is sort of surprising how many people actually don't follow instructions, and I think that is absolutely a red flag. And as much as I am very analytical, I would say that sometimes really listening to your gut on things. So to me, that's a red flag. Another red flag for me personally is if the person doesn't take the interview seriously. Now, I know I'm a little older, so I'm probably, dating myself here, but I once had a person show up for an interview. She was driving in her car, not even parked. She was driving her car in a tank top, and it did not last 5 minutes. I was like, we are clearly not on the same page here, because you're not, I don't feel like you're taking this seriously. And one of our core values is excellence, and in that moment, that did not reflect excellence to me. So whatever your company's core values are, you want to make sure that there's an alignment. And if you're seeing something in the very, very beginning, listen to your gut. It's a red flag.
Hey there! A quick break to remind you that 80/20 Recruit podcast is brought to you by 80/20 Recruit, helping you hire pre-vetted, top-performing remote talent from Latin America. Save hours of recruiting and find the perfect fit for your team. Visit 8020recruit.com to learn more. So I'm a strong believer in having core values and following them up and hiring for core values, but I find that's pretty difficult to hire for. Like, how can you tell someone, hey, do you like excellence? Yeah, I like excellence. How do you look for matching, good matching in terms of core values?
Great question. So the first thing we do is we wouldn't phrase it that way per se. Now, part of this is absolutely a test on the candidate. The candidate has access to our website, anywhere that we are on the, if I was a candidate, I would be searching and like pulling up everything and educating myself, right? And so you can pretty easily find our core values. It's in the job ad, right? So in the beginning interviews that we have, we ask them, oh, so do you remember our 3 core values? They don't know that we're going to ask them, but we just want to know, did they even notice, right? Through the course of the interviews, what we do is, instead of saying, how, like, are you going to align with excellence? We'll say, like, tell me a time at your last position in which you demonstrated excellence. And the way that our final interview, our panel interview, is structured, we actually go back 3 jobs, so that there's 3 opportunities for them to explain something, so we can start to catch patterns. So it's always phrased, tell me a time in which you demonstrated X, and then shut up and let them speak. That's how
Because
we do it.
you ask for experience, not for
Yes, not
other things that
future.
don't exist.
How would you exhibit excellence on the job? We don't ask questions like that.
All right, let's go into building teams. How do you and what are three best practices in order to properly onboard someone to your team?
To properly onboard, I will say that having clarity with what the training even looks like. We have a 30, 60, 90-day plan that we put in front of our new folks and explain to them, this is the expectations of what success looks like at the end of 30, 60, 90. And then we break it down even further. And that first month is literally laid out. I'm saying this because the position that we hire the most for is inside sales. So just as an example, the first month is literally laid out for them. It's every day what they're doing, at specifically what times, and and then like by the end of the first month, we're expecting that they know X, Y, and Z. Like, it's very laid out and clear, so that the job that we're advertising for and the job that they're doing, it's super clear. We don't want people to come in and be like, we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. So just having clearly defined roles and expectations and what success is, and then building the training around that. The other piece of it is that it is not one person. It's not one person that's responsible for bringing a person up in the organization. It's truly a team effort. We have a director of logistics who it's a hybrid position, but part of what she does is she does hiring and onboarding. So she's responsible for getting them in and getting them a tech. And then the sales team, it's not just the sales manager, but it's other folks on the team, and they all participate in different ways to help the person along. So clearly defined goals, baked training that is created, and then it's a community where everyone is helping to bring this person up. It doesn't fall on any one person.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to dig a little bit deeper into building teams, and my question would be, how can you build trust among employees, mates, especially for a for an, for a new person coming in?
We have to create a safe space to allow people to fail safely. That's really what it is. Everyone is going to fail, and like telling them, like, it's okay, you're going to fail. It's not if, it's when you're going to fail. And we put parameters on So another document that we have is 3 areas of approval. And it's, these are the things I want you to do and never tell me about. Show up on time to work, schedule your appointments. These are the things I want you to do and then tell me about them later. Attend a webinar and bring me back the 3 golden nuggets. Here are the things I want you to never do without talking to me first. If we can set these parameters up for a person, now we've created an environment for which they have autonomy and can go off and explore and learn and fail on their own. So, and then as they fail and learn, then we give them more room to grow, right? And what we're trying to see is we're trying to see that they're not failing on the same thing over and over, that they're going to make new mistakes and learn in other areas. So that's what I would say. We provide an environment in which people can fail safely.
Here is a very personal thought. I don't think it's necessarily a best practice for everyone, because there are different styles of management. The One of the things that I say to my teams is that there is permission to fail. There isn't permission to do nothing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you go, I didn't do it because I thought I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
fail, or I didn't do it because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have permission, or I didn't do it because I thought I was gonna break it. There's no permission to that. You can fail. I see that if your hiring process was more like a little bit okay,
Mm-hmm.
people will fail in a way that they will get more things right than they will get things wrong. So they will fail, but if you let them, they will get more things right than wrong. So
Yeah. I that's a really good point, Francisco. So, and this brings me kind of to another point is that yes, we have these 3 core values, but what we've learned in hiring people over the years is that we have unwritten core values. These are things that are unspoken, but we just collectively know as a team that we have. And so what you just mentioned right there is actually kind of an unwritten core value. Like, excellence is absolutely at the forefront of the core value, but no, you can't just sit there and do nothing. Like, we want people to try, and that's like a hidden core value, if you will. I feel like there would be peer pressure enough that the person would get the message. Like, for example, another hidden core value is that we move really quickly as an organization, and it's not written down anywhere. We just move very quickly. So just trying to make sure that we're all going to work. But I like your point though, is like you have to try. You can't just do nothing. Inaction is doing no one a favor. Try and fail.
totally. And here I want to the next question. I really want to see your opinion, because I got mixed opinions here. So the question is, how do you measure success in your team? So KPIs are important, but I see that teams sometimes fail in having way too many KPIs, in the sense that you're like half of your time writing KPIs down and measuring stuff instead of doing stuff. How many things do you have to have in order to know that you're in the right balance, in like you don't have so many KPIs that you're all the time measuring stuff instead of doing stuff, or the other
Mm-hmm.
way around?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know you have enough KPIs so that you know that you are tracking things right?
Yeah, great question. So we adopted an operating model for the company. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, and
Love it. Yeah, we do too.
yeah, we've modified it a bit, right? But largely what we still follow is every person in the organization has at least one KPI. And if there are multiple, then we pick one, like the primary KPI. The other ones could be lead ups, right? But there's one primary KPI that we all track. And then as a leadership team, we meet once weekly and we discuss and review company and personal rocks, like for the department. So really those are the top ones, and they all roll up to quarterly, annually numbers for the company, gross, net, all of those things. So I would say I feel like we've done a pretty good job with saying, here are the main KPIs. Like for marketing, with my marketing hat, I'm responsible for bringing in 45 leads a week. That's my KPI. So I feel like we've done a pretty good job saying like it's the KPIs and it's the rocks, and then we work in all these other things. But in terms of success, KPIs is a part of it. It's kind of squishy, but part of what I believe is success is if I can look at a person quarter over quarter and see that if they're a manager, that they're able to delegate more, that they're able to make more decisions independently. Like some of it's a little squishy, but that's just another way that I would say that we can see success.
Great, I like it. Okay, I want to go into this other section regarding retaining talent. So let's go on the broad questions. What are your top strategies for retaining talent? So you like someone, you want them to work more with you. How do you retain them more?
Well, Francisco, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking out my window and it is snowing. Okay. I will tell you, 2 weeks ago, we just got back from Puerto Rico, from the beautiful island of Vieques, where we took 10 employees and four significant others for 5 nights, 4 nights. And we did so because the last year we did well on sales. And so we said, okay, if you've been an employee with us for at least 6 months of the year, we're going to take you on a trip. And we did. We just delivered on that. That's just one example. It was the first trip we've ever done. In the past 2 years, we've been able to bring on health benefits. We've been able to bring on a 401k profit sharing plan. We are in several different either masterminds or have coaches. I personally have worked corporate jobs, been in the military. I've been around the block a little bit with where I've worked. Nowhere that I've ever worked has a company ever provided this much support and resources. And I believe that the investment that our team sees that we provide is something that I believe helps with that.
Let's take a quick pause to share something special. Listeners of the 80/20 Recruit podcast get an exclusive 10% discount on their first hire with 80/20 Recruit. Head to 8020recruit.com and mention the podcast to claim your discount. Don't miss out. What about what are your thoughts on career development and promotion? So you mentioned you guys have access to masterminds and
Mhm.
coaches.
Mhm.
So that's one. How can they grow? What do you think about grow? Is growing good at all? Maybe not all want to grow. I mean, I have actually have a couple thoughts on that.
Mhm.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So for 2025, we said as a company, our theme this year is connection and growth. And that's what we're really trying to focus on. I hear what you're saying. Some people may not want to grow. They may just be happy where they are. And I get that. And one of those hidden core values is that we want for everyone to continuously learn. And so we have town halls I think we're moving them officially now to every quarter, and we read books and we discuss them as a team. That's the way. Like if you do nothing else and you just show up to the town halls and read the books, then you're reading at least 4 business books a year and have an opportunity to grow. When I say grow, it can mean anything from being promoted and like within the organization, or it can just mean as an individual. But if a person were to join our organization and not want to grow themselves, they would not be a good culture fit.
Here's the next one in which I have a great interest because I have again mixed opinions on
Mhm.
myself here. Um, what are the best ways to provide feedback to your team members? So I see styles of people doing micromanagement, maybe even yelling, and I'm not demonizing those because I see
Mhm.
teams working close to those styles. All the other
Yeah.
way, being totally loose and the other part of the spectrum. What is your style? What has worked for you guys in terms of providing feedback?
This is a great question. This is a can of worms. This is such a can of worms. Okay. So maybe, I don't know, I'm like losing track of time. Maybe 2 months ago, fairly recently, we have a business coach who brought to the leadership team an actual feedback form, and she's been teaching us about this. Okay. Her name is Annie Yatch. So she brought us this form, and it's more than a form. What it is yes, you complete a form and then you get on the person's schedule. But what we're finding is 9 times out of 10, when you go to sit down to do the form, all of these emotions have been in the way. And there's a story someone is telling themselves that is not accurate. And so this is a way to kind of cut through all of that. Now, I will say personally, I'm struggling a little bit because it's a lot of work to actually go and fill out a form and do this whole thing and provide feedback. So for me personally, I'm trying to gauge each of my team members and understand which ones can I just go to and give them like a feedback sandwich and be done with it, and which ones like actually require the attention and that, to go to have a whole conversation. So for me personally, I'm trying to cater it based on the person and what it is too. It's definitely more convenient for me if I can just give a quick feedback sandwich where you say, hey, something positive and then something to work on and then something positive for me. But then I have to think, okay, if this is just convenient for me, am I really doing a service here? Or, so I'm really trying to figure this out myself with different people. But I think if we've learned nothing, it's that it's better to deliver the feedback and get it off your chest and clear the air so that you have like a new reset with that person on that topic.
Great. Yeah, it is. It is a big can of worms. I've been leading teams for 20 years, and I've had either forced or natural all styles.
Mm-hmm.
Still testing things out, and it also depends on many factors. There's not just one recipe like the sandwich. There's also who is in the other side, who is listening, what position, what is the feedback about, where is your
Mm-hmm.
position regarding to this in that
Mm-hmm.
moment, is there more people involved? So there's a lot of things to be said. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, okay. So when you say people, yeah, that's a good point because I was thinking of it just like a one-on-one. However, just the nature of what our business is, multiple people touch the property. So when we buy a property, right, there's inside sales, there's outside sales, there's transaction coordination, there's dispositions, there's possibly rehab. Like there's a lot of people, right? Sometimes when we have deals that kind of go sideways, we'll do an after action report, and to me, it's a way to deliver feedback in a really constructive, objective way. And we've set them up so that there's no blaming, there's no finger pointing. And we literally just go from start to finish. And we talk about if we were to do this again, what would we keep? What would we stop? And what would we start doing? And I believe we've set it up. It's a safe environment. And if we all go into it like no one is blaming anyone, there's no finger pointing, and it opens us up to be able to have conversations. um, our one core value of accountability and on excellence, the other two of them is like fall on your sword, like take extreme ownership. It's
Totally.
your fault, it's my fault if a new hire didn't work out first, then go back and unpack that.
All right, Candy, we're getting to the end of the podcast. Time went flying. It's been half an hour here, and I feel like it's been 5 minutes. I learned a lot. Hopefully, if you're willing to, maybe in a few episodes we can sit again and talk other stuff. But thank you for coming. It's been awesome. I don't know if you have any last words for anyone listening, or how can we know more about you?
Thank you, first of all, for having me, Francisco, and I love to come back if you'd have me. If you want to get a hold of me, you can check out ipscash.com and just go through, find us on socials. My email, Candy, CNDY at ipscash.com. Check me out. Go find me on the interwebs. I'm around. And again, thank you, Francisco.
Thank you. Talk soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the 80/20 Recruit podcast. If you found today's episode valuable, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. Want more tips? Follow us on LinkedIn and visit our website 8020recruit.com for exclusive resources. See you next time.